I want to definitely get into the book, which was awesome, and talk about some of the Run for Something candidates who we've been having on the pod recently and just very excited about. But, the big news is the government shutdown. We're talking on day one of this. What are your vibes when it comes down to the shutdown? Who do you think is going to blink first? How are you feeling?
I don't know how this ends. Here's what I'll say. I will hope that Democrats don't blink. I think that showing some fight right now is the right thing to do for the base. I think Chuck Schumer clearly understands this moment is different than in March. He cannot back down. Senate Democrats cannot back down. I'm a little concerned that already 3, I believe, all voted for the initial spending bill, which is a little alarming, but
Hi, everyone. This video is just a preview of the full episode, which you can tell because it's short. And that's available now on our Raging Moderates YouTube feed. It's been so fun seeing a lot of you over there. We're having a great time creating the content, these up-to-the-minute videos, reaction takes. Scott's even enjoying himself. And this is, of course, in addition to the Wednesday and Friday pods. You can click the pop-up link, which should be on your screen, or head over to youtube.com/@RagingModerates to subscribe. Please do.
I am hopeful that Democrats will stay strong because Republicans control the House, the Senate, and the White House. It is on them to be able to get things to work. Like, the job of a politician is to get your opponents to agree with you and to vote with you, to build coalitions. And if they can't do that, they can't do the jobs. I don't know how this ends because I don't see either side backing down easily. I don't know. What do you think?
I mean, I know that I'm paid to have a good answer to that question, but, I'm unsure. I've been heartened to see Gillibrand and Gary Peters and Brian Schatz, who all voted for the initial keep the government open in March, basically say, this is different, and we didn't know what governing under the Trump administration 2.0 was going to look like in the same way in March. And you could make the argument that they essentially operate as if the government is shut down, whether it's open or not. They're uniparty rule at this point. I'm watching New Hampshire, what Shaheen and Hassan do. I understand the concerns. Russ Vought he's a scary dude. Right. And this is what he wanted. If you read Project 2025, which I wish that we had talked about that more on the campaign trail past August. I'm like, oh, we kind of gave up that talking point. This is a playground, right? He's at Six Flags at this point. So that concerns me, but it does feel like Chuck Schumer got the message, especially from the base. And that leads us, directly into the work that you do with Run for Something, making politics more responsive to where Americans are, and especially younger Americans. So how is Run for Something going in Trump 2.0? And you started right after Trump was first elected. And it feels, it is technically a long time, but it feels like 50 years.
It feels like 10 lifetimes. So Run for Something was born of the ashes of the 2016 election. We launched on Trump's first inauguration day thinking this would be a small side project. We'd get 100 people who want to run. I was going to take a real job. I was campaign before that. We had 1,000 people in the first week. As of today, we're up to nearly 250,000 young people who've raised their hands to say they want to run. Nearly 70,000 of them in the last 11 months. So we've had more people sign up since Trump won in 2024 than we did in the entirety of his first term. It has been a huge moment for candidate recruitment, for people looking around both at the Republican Party and in the Democratic Party and saying, if these guys aren't going to lead, I'm going to have to get in myself and run. We've endorsed more than 3,000 campaigns. We've helped elect more than 1,500 millennials and Gen Z to state and local office all across the country. We've won elections in 49 states. We're only missing Idaho. And it's a real building blocks of power. It's how you build long-term sustainable power.
And what do you do exactly for your candidates?
So it starts with recruitments. We ask people to sign up at runforwhat.net to look up where they could run. Once they do, they get put into an online community that allows them to both interact with each other, with experts. They go through some curriculum and some trainings on how to prepare to run either now or a couple of years down the road. They get invited to regular calls where we talk about the basics of running for office. They also get information about stuff our partners are doing. And we work with more than 200 groups across the country, both local and national, to help candidates really understand what does it mean to run for office and how to actually execute on it. Once they're on the ballot, they can apply for our endorsement. Now, once you're endorsed, which we do about half the people who apply, our regional directors will work directly with you. It's like one part coach, one part consultant, one part therapist. Do you need help getting the state party to answer your emails? Great. We know them. We will shake them down for you. You need access to the voter file? We can do that. You need tools for texting? We can do that. It is a full service soup to nuts. And then we stick with people post-election day. So our alumni community made up of our endorsed candidates, we help them figure out their next steps. We stay in relationship with them as they think about running for higher office. We make sure that the folks doing recruitment for higher offices know these people are there and leading. We promote them across our network. We're really part of like long-term talent incubation.
You obviously have a lot of prominent alumni, and I want to talk about two candidates in particular that are running this cycle for Senate: Mallory McMorrow in Michigan, James Tallarico in Texas. We've had both of them on the podcast. I just saw James Tallarico's fundraising numbers for the first 3 weeks, $6.2 million. Can you talk about them and their journey and, how you're working with them and why you think that's like 80 questions, but why you think they're resonating at this level?
So Mallory, we worked with in her first state Senate race back in 2018. We were her first endorser, and she often tells, especially when I'm in the room, about how she took our endorsement with her to various other state and local groups who took her seriously because she was endorsed by Run for Something. She was just a mom wanting to run for office. She had Googled how to run for office and found us, found Emerge, and got in the race, flipped that seat, and is now a very competitive candidate for United States Senate. James was a middle school teacher in Texas who decided to run for state ledge down there to flip a seat in the Texas State House. People often don't remember that. He did flip that seat. He held it in 2020. Both of them we've been in conversation with since 2018. So I often describe my work as like being the person who sees the band at the small club before they go do the arena tours. Like I know the cool people who are cool before they're cool. Both of them have a very shared ability to talk like normal people, to so clearly know what they believe, and to be interesting and normal online. And I think it's actually a uniquely millennial Gen Z thing. I know we'll get into the generational stuff a little bit, but I think because both of them have been online their entire lives, they have always had cameras around them. They have always thought about what it means to curate a public presence that is who they are, but with some boundaries. They understand that you have to be a normal, engaging human being. You can't be like a robot politician. Now, they're not fully aligned ideologically. They're not running the same kind of campaign. They both do talk about their faith, although for James, it is much more prominent in his work. They both talk about their family, although Mallory is like a mom of a little 4-year-old, and James is not a parent, not married, I don't believe. They both are so in touch with their communities. I think that's what makes them really powerful, even as they are very different.
Yeah, I'm glad that you brought up kind of their policies or the ideology of this, because I think that there's a big misconception that all young candidates have to be like wild progressives. And that's not the case at all. You just need to be the genuine article and to look and talk and seem like you come from the community that you are asking to elect you. Like it wouldn't make sense in Texas if we are to have any pipe dream shot of ever, flipping that seat to blue for you to have the same politics as AOC.
And I think like what they both clearly have is like a set of values that they hold strongly. Like they really know who they are and what they believe. And that more so than actually like the specifics is what comes through. Not that they don't also have like very specific policies they're advocating for. And, they're both very clearly like equity aligned, justice aligned, like pro-democracy. But they talk about it very differently. They're prioritizing different policies. They are thinking about this as how they can best represent the places they're running. And if Democrats are going to win in places both like Michigan, Texas, and also New York and California, that's what we need.
Yeah. I'm a big fan of it. Obviously, I work in conservative media, so I spend a lot of time with people on the other side of the fence. But I hate, this rush to do ideological purity tests or to jump on someone who's won a super competitive race. Like, you might not love everything Alyssa Slotkin is saying, but like, could you have won her race? I don't really know. So I wish people would just stand back a little bit
The ideological purity testing or the even like the discourse of you must believe this or that, like that misses how people consume information. The way that, James talks about wanting to fight for LGBTQ people versus the way that Mallory does versus the way that like Zora Mamdani does. Each of it sounds a little different. They're talking about different levers that they can pull. They're talking about it through a very different lens. But because of who they are and their stories and the places they're running, it seems real. They believe it. And that's what matters almost more than anything else.
Totally. You mentioned social media, and I want to talk about that because it's a blessing and a curse, right? We're all overly addicted, and it's causing, to my mind, a tremendous amount of damage also in people's lives. What are you seeing in terms of how social is being used for politics, both in the good and the bad ways? And what do you see as like the right sweet spot for how you can run a viral campaign and also keep people sane?
Yeah, I think for the campaigns, we've seen candidates use it really well when they come off like normal people. So they use it the way that they probably would. Like, I think a lot, Chuck Schumer's probably never opened his Instagram account. He's probably never scrolled. And it's one of my favorite things to ask older politicians is like, what social medias do you actually use? Like, what platforms are you on? What is your algorithm showing you? And if they don't even understand the question, that's usually my first flag. Like, I want to know that my candidates and my leaders are the right amount of online. They need to be like just enough that they understand how they're creating content. They understand how people consume it. You need to be enough of a consumer to be a producer, but I don't want them to have the brain rot or like the worm. Like I feel like I've got the worms where my brain is like all omelets and toddler content on the internet, and it's not good. I think that candidates who are getting it right. I think Mallory is really good. I think James is really good. I also think there's like a New York City council member, Chi Osei, who's really, really good. Christian Menefee, who's running for Congress down in Texas, super compelling online. Zach Walz, who's running for Senate in Iowa, super compelling. Musab Ali, who's running for mayor of Jersey City, really fun. Yeah. Really, really fun. There's like a bunch of really cool candidates who are each doing it a little differently. And I think the thing that I really love about them is most of them are not doing like memes. They're not, pandering to folks. They're not jumping on trends. I mean, like occasionally they'll do the sort of like music stuff, but mostly they're just treating their audiences like adults and they're using their social media platforms like any other 30-something.
Yeah. What do you think about, because I mean, you mentioned Chuck Schumer, and he's definitely had some of the cringiest moments online, I think, of anyone, especially being the Senate minority leader. But then there are other boomer elected officials like a Mark Warner, for instance, who I think has made a very genuine effort to kind of get with the times, right? And he does his car videos, and he's gotten a little more professionalized about it. And Run for Something is really focused on younger people, though. So where do you see the gerontocracy battle at this particular moment?
The gerontocracy is a scourge upon the earth, both in government and basically everywhere else. And I think we are at a tipping point for how it's going to change. There are record numbers of young people running for office this year and into 2026. I think we will see more file. There's also, thank God, quite a few older senators who are retiring and making way for this exciting benches. There are young leaders jumping into primary these older Democrats. I think the challenge is that, generally speaking, there are certainly some exceptions here, but generally speaking, the older leaders in the Democratic Party have neither the skills nor the stomach to fight in this moment. It took Chuck Schumer getting basically dragged for months, both online and in person, and yelled at by donors to get to a point where he was ready to shut down the government to fight for our values. We've got to get candidates and leaders in there who have a really clear-eyed understanding of who our opponents are. That the Republican Party at this moment is not interested in good faith governance. They are not good faith partners in negotiating. This is not George W. Bush's Republican Party or Romney's or John McCain's. It is Trump all the way down. And if you came of politics in the last 8 years or came up to it, generally speaking, you see that really clearly. Whereas if you sort of have been in the Senate since the 90s or older, you like have a misconception. In the same way that like we like the music we liked when we were 13, politics is stuck in the moment when you first engaged in it.
Yeah, like going out to the Sphere to see the Backstreet Boys.
I would absolutely do that in a heartbeat.
100%. My husband was like, let's go see the Dead. I was like, get out of here. He's a weird Gen Xer.